So the first good step before performing a flash upgrade on your vehicle is to make sure your battery is charged, and at least if it is charged, on a maintenance charger of some sort. That way, as you sit in the car, things are operating without the engine running, you'll be able to flash safely and not brick your ECU. So even in the short moment here that I've stepped in the vehicle, Audis, at least late model vehicles, will prime the fuel pump as you enter the vehicle or hit the key fob, just so the engine turns over that much easier once you get ready to start the engine, which further adds to the point of making sure that your battery is charged. Alrighty, so you may not have this, but you probably should. This is a Rostec Hex V2 cable. There are earlier revisions, but the bottom line is you need a cable that's able to access your car's diagnostic interface. Prior to doing flash upgrades, short of doing your stage 0 maintenance list, you should check if there are any logged codes, at least at the minimum, in your powertrain control module, or in the case of Audi, your ECM. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. And your diagnostic link is down here. Can't really see where I'm going, but the bottom line is it is hooked down here. So we've went ahead, we've connected our USB cable from the diagnostic link cable, and we're going to go ahead and put our key in the ignition with our foot off the brake and turn it to accessory by pressing the key. Hopefully that beeping will go away. This will be a good time to make sure you turn off your heated seats, any climate control stuff, any lamps overhead, turn those completely off since the door's open, and even go as far as turning off the MMI in my case, which is the radio. In this case, when it's in standby, it appears like so, but that's about as good as it's going to get. And one thing to also check, your check engine light should be on, as that means the ECU is active. So now we're going to go ahead and use our good old VCDS. We're going to fire that right up, and we're going to select our control module. In this case, it's going to be number 1, the engine. So first I'm going to go ahead, just for sanity check, we'll check what hardware revision we have and software, and we're going to check the readiness. And as you can see, everything prior to being flashed or altered is passing, which is good. Secondary to that, we're going to go ahead, close this. That was an accident. I'm going to go back. We're going to check for fault codes. Now, in my case, I have a silent fault code, which is logged, but doesn't trigger a check engine light. In my particular case, I have electrical malfunction for one of the oil pressure regulating valves, and I've done some homework previous to this and had cleared the log. Unfortunately, this is going to persist, and it would seem as though this is a benign issue for right now and can be resolved at a later time. But ideally, you want to make sure that this is completely clear. But I'm not clearing this code. We're just going to go back and close the controller. Right now, there are no other active fault codes like misfires or catalyst efficiency codes or anything of the like that would hinder us in our tuning progress. So I got this cable for my 2009 B8 A4 and did a stage 1 tune already. So this is the PowerLink V3 cable, and it comes with a USB-C end, which is on here, the actual PowerLink, as well as a USB, I guess, 2.0 end that you'd plug into a normal machine. And this will be using to flash our 2011 B8 S4. So we'll get prepared and unplug our BCDS cable because we don't need that right now. So just prior to connecting our cable for the tuning, we're going to make sure we have the Flash Wizard installed, which I do. And we're going to tap on that. It's going to do its little thing and get a few updates from Integrated Engineering. And that should leapboard us to getting a Flash. So at this point, you're going to want to go ahead and start connecting some stuff up, accept the license agreement and whatnot. I'm going to go ahead and connect these together right now and accept that and plug this into the OBD port that we saw previous. All right, well, we got everything plugged up, USB cable plugged into the laptop. Our diagnostic/flashing cable from Integrated Engineering is connected, and we're going to go ahead and hit agree to all of the stuff. So here we can go into the Flash Wizard and click on Tune. And as you can see, it already debriefs you. It wants to make sure that you're hooked up to a charging source. And it's going to go ahead and make sure you plug in everything. In this case, we want to plug in the V3 dongle as we have. Click Next. It's going to ask you to turn it to on position. Obviously, don't have the engine running. We just want the ignition in accessory mode. Ideally, I believe accessory 2 right before run, as that's where the ECU would be active. And click Next, and it's going to ask for us to register the VIN. So we're going to register to the owner of the cable because I have the cable. If you were sharing this with a friend, you can enter the new owner's information, but since I'm the owner of the cable, we're going to register this VIN number. So we click Next. So it already identified some bits. It looks like so we have transmission and engine or vice versa. So I click on engine. Right now we have stage 1, and it looks like we have 899 credits for that. Can't wait to do stage 2 because that would be very nice, but I believe that one requires a pulley that we don't have. And the cool thing is with Integrated Engineering, you can pay the difference in the tune price. So as you see, this is 100 credits more for stage 2 for the 91 and the 93 octane. You'd only pay $100 more to get that if you started with the stage 1 tune, for instance. So they already say it here. It requires 93 octane fuel and intakes recommended. To be honest with you, I don't like aftermarket intakes. I'm a firm believer, and this is my personal opinion, in the OEM intake. But that's debatable. All right, so I went ahead and they say we're ready to flash the car, and we're going to go ahead and get the flash started. So we know the car meets the requirements. It's going to consume the credits and show you a balance. So we hit purchase, and we're going to authorize the VIN number for this cable. And it looks like the cable is able to be locked up to 5 VIN numbers. But we're going to go ahead and lock it because this is my car and this is my cable. So we're downloading the tune. It's all fine and dandy. It clears the codes, which is a good reason why you want to check the codes to begin with. And now the ECU is flashing. And you'll see a couple faults come up as the firmware is being written because the ECM, for all intents and purposes, has stopped responding to everything that's on the gateway for this car. So think of it like you have a car area network, CAN bus, and you've lost the main head node in a way. All the modules are now complaining because, oh dear, the ECU has disappeared. What's going on? Don't worry. All of these faults that show up, we're going to remedy that after the flash, which is why it's a good idea to also have one of these VCDS cables too. Now, granted, we can clear any codes that the ECM shows, and I believe the TCU shows, with this integrated engineering flash cable. However, just to be extra thorough and get all body control modules and other stability function modules and whatnot sorted, we're going to do a log of all the errors afterwards, which we know we triggered, and then we're going to clear them. And if you haven't already, take a moment, relax, think about all the nice rips and pulls you're going to pull on people in a safe environment, probably in Mexico, because that's where all digitally rendered racing happens. And enjoy the prospect of an additional 90 to 100 horsepower and I believe 93 torque, if I remember correctly. Could be a little more. So we're only about 4 or 5 minutes in, and we're about 1/3 of the way through. It does take a while to flash, which is why it's highly recommended to be on a battery tender, because the last thing you want to deal with is an incomplete flash, as at that point your options are limited. If I understand correctly, there are some remedies which allow you to bring the ECU back into a recovered state to continue the flash, but it's not necessarily guaranteed, and you very likely may end up needing to be towed to a dealer. Also, forgot to mention one other thing. This is a case of doing as I say and not as I am doing, because right now my laptop battery is a little bit low. It would have been ideal to bring my laptop battery charger. I'm gonna ride on hopes and prayers, as it claims we have 25 minutes of battery life left. And if we beat the clock, we should be well within that time, because it looks like we're completing 1/3 of the flash every 4 minutes. Well, the good thing is we can learn from this together. I had to get my AC adapter out. The laptop died mid-flash. So it looks as though they'll start the recovery wizard to restore the ECU to factory calibration. So we made sure our ignition is still on. So we'll click next. Go back for that stage 3. Or 93 octane rather. Stage 1. And we click on that flash. All right, so the flash has begun. Thankfully, it looks as though that it is doing a validation of the blocks that have been written. So it's actually speeding by very fast. So there's a lesson to be learned here. charge your laptop too. All right, it is Hex V2 VCDS time. Unplug this sucker in here. There's the port. It's just a matter of getting to it. There we go. We're in. And I'm plugging our cable. Cool. So let's close this Flash Wizard. We'll fire up trusty VCDS, and we'll turn the ignition on, foot off brake. Nothing abnormal right now. All right, engine. Want to check that one? All right. So everything looks pretty much identical. I mean, I'd have to look at the video. But fault codes, no codes, it cleared them. Readiness should be pretty much all zeros except for a few. Go back. I say all zeros, but really what I mean is the readiness is not ready. We're going to close this controller. And now we're going to go ahead and go back here. And we're going to do an auto scan. So we're going to click start. It's going to go through each control module in the car, because even though the ECU doesn't have any logged codes, all associated modules, instruments, MMI, parking brake, etc., all logged that the ECU fell off the bus. So we need to go through, check all of those, log any additional bits. Ideally, you would want to run an auto scan prior to doing your flash as well if you do have a VCDS cable. It's not a mandatory, but it gives you a bit more peace of mind to know where you started from, even though the ECU tune should have no effect on any other modules directly. But this way, we'll be able to keep a data point of exactly where we were, what we did, and what happened afterwards. And we're closing into the end of the auto scan. This works very fast on CAN bus cars. So before we just click clear all, we want to take these results and save them to a log. And just being the person I am, this is a new car to me. Don't have a license plate yet. Temporary tag. Click OK. As you can see, it's saving several hundred lines to that log with the VIN number. And then we're going to go ahead and clear all DTCs because we saved them. Just going to go into all the control modules, clear the logged entries, and we get a confirmation that it's been erased. So click done and go back. I'll click done and close on the log window. Yes, we're going to permanently close this log session, and we're going to click close. And one final check just to make sure at least everything appears to be okay. Check for fault codes, and none logged. All right, so we'll close this controller. So it's at this time you're gonna want to secure all your other bits. Disconnect the battery tender. I guess I'm gonna lay this on top of the trash can. We're gonna go ahead, take a look, make sure nothing abnormal is going on. The car is active, so there is a continuous amp draw. We're going to go ahead and disconnect the negative and carefully disconnect the positive there. I like to put my clips on top of the battery tender like so. And finally, we're going to just lean over, make sure that's secured nicely. Go ahead and drop this back on here. Should be somewhat cumbersome, but not too bad. And I don't see anything else that's out of place. No smoke, no flames, no fire. Yet. Okay, so now it's the moment of truth. You're going to go ahead and put your foot on the brake pedal. If you have a clutch, make sure your foot's also depressed on the clutch. But I have DSG. Start the engine. Ah. What was that? We're going to try this one more time. Interesting. Did I forget how to start a car? Maybe the key was in there so long that you have to firmly hold it down. I don't know. But right now, I'm not seeing anything abnormal. In an ideal world where I thoroughly go through this, you'd probably want to check for any codes that arise as the motor is turned over. But I'm going to go on a happy ride. It's so delightful to be able to have the privilege of driving an S4, especially after a stage 1 tune. Everything just works. Sports diff, paddle shift, it just goes. And there's a cop. Fuck all. I'm still flying. Stage 1, over 400 horsepower, over 400 torque. 3-liter V6T, which is really a misnomer because it's supercharged, but I don't care because it's fast. And it's just, I need a DSG tune. Like, I'm hooked. I'm just like, alright, let's do it from like 25 mile an hour and then just like plan it. Already 7. It's fucking insane.